Hi there again, and welcome to this video series on organizational behavior. It's nice to have you here. For this session of Organizational Behavior Hack, we have several goals. They include defining organizational change, understanding why change is necessary, identifying different types of change, specifying how change can be promoted, and considering key issues related to change. Let's go. In their book, Organizational Behavior and Public Management, Vasu, Stewart, and Garson assert that organizational change involves a significant alteration of behavior in an organization, regardless of whether it is in the private, public, or nonprofit sector. There are a number of reasons why an organization may need to undergo significant change. Here are a few of the many examples that could be given. A startup company has been extremely successful, and it needs to expand rapidly to keep up with rising demand for their goods and services. A major retail chain needs to upgrade its point-of-purchase software to increase efficiency, improve data collection, and facilitate product tracking and replenishment. A local government has been the target of many cyber attacks, so it needs to expand information technology services and improve its firewall along with the training of all employees about cybersecurity. Employees in a school district are demoralized due to the high workloads and limited pay. The growth of a government agency may require division of units to limit the number of employees that report to a single leader or manager. And a nonprofit unexpectedly receives a six-figure donation, which will require more caseworkers to expand a social service program. Here's another one. A global pandemic occurs and operations need to shift online in order to reduce the transmission of the virus to employees and customers. Thus, there can be countless reasons why an organizational change is needed. The success or failure of an organization, new opportunities or challenges related to technology, frustrations in the unit, and many other variables such as poor leadership or limited productivity may necessitate significant organizational change. These factors may be internal or external to the organization. Here's another way of looking at the need for organizational change. Organizations may be similar to the birth, development, and life of a person. A baby is born. He or she learns to crawl, walk, and talk. The individual gains education and begins to drive a car. The person's life includes marriage and employment. There are many phases in the life of an individual. Organizations are somewhat similar to people. For instance, maybe the organization was recently created and it is trying to get established. Alternatively, the organization has been in existence for a while, but it is experiencing significant growing pains. Perhaps the organization is facing the possibility of decline and decay because it is not keeping up with the changes in the market. In this case, a reorganization is needed to downsize or advance the mission of the business, government agency, or nonprofit. These types of issues in the life of an organization may make change necessary and even inevitable. When required, organizations can and should be transformed in a variety of ways. The vision can be adjusted. New goals may be identified based on the environment or the unfolding reality. Personnel can rotate in and out. A new leader, a new manager, and/or additional employees may be hired. Structures can be modified. A new division can be created, or a unit can be combined with another section of the organization. Processes can be altered. A better way of doing things can be identified. In addition, the organization may move to a different location or adopt new technologies. The types of changes are numerous. One of the most important but difficult types of change relates to organizational culture. Organizational culture refers to the values, belief system, feelings, and ways of acting within a business, government agency, or nonprofit. At the most basic level, a business wants to make money. A government wants to serve residents in the community, and a nonprofit desires to help the disadvantaged. But organizational culture is more complicated than this. Everyone in the organization may buy into the vision, or there can be serious disagreements about the mission. There can be a sense of unity, or there can be different factions within the organization that produce conflict. The leaders can set a tone of respect, openness to new ideas, encouragement, and intrinsic motivation. Or the manager can be seen as a dictator, and this can create a lot of animosity with the employees working under this person. The organization can demonstrate innovation and hard work, or it can be stuck in prior ways of doing things, and there may not be a commitment to its success. Those in charge of organization should be aware of organizational culture, and they must do what they can to alter it when needed. So, if an organization needs to change, how can a leader or manager facilitate this? One of the first steps is to learn. Those running an organization need to have situational awareness and be open to seeing problems and opportunities in a new light. This is called diagnosing, and it's related to organizational learning. Organizational learning may be witnessed with a single or double loop. The best way to understand this is to use the example of temperature in a building. If the temperature is too hot, the thermostat can be adjusted. This is single loop learning. Or perhaps there's a reason why the building is too hot. The air conditioner is too small for the facility, and a larger one needs to be installed. This is double loop learning. It is more interested in the cause rather than just addressing the symptom. In the context of organizations, seeing a decline in productivity and telling employees to work harder to meet goals is an example of single loop learning. In contrast, finding out why productivity has slipped and fixing that problem is an example of double loop learning. For instance, perhaps the machine has broken, an employee was fired and not replaced, or the production process is inherently flawed. These issues have to be fixed if productivity is to get back on track. Leaders and managers need to learn both from single and double loop processes. There are many other recommendations to promote organizational change. For instance, team building is essential. Employees must get along so that there's a cohesive organizational culture. Cotter and Schlesinger have provided 4 other recommendations. First, information needs to be obtained so leaders, managers, and employees are educated about opportunities. Once a diagnosis has been obtained, it needs to be shared widely with the organization. The implication here is simple. If people are not aware of a problem, they cannot fix it. All of the individuals in the organization, leaders, managers, and employees, must be open to obtaining and sharing information. In addition, perhaps training needs to be improved so employees understand expectations and procedures more fully. Second, getting people involved in the decision-making process could increase commitment to the solutions being proposed. Employees are more likely to fix a problem if they can have some ownership in how to resolve it. A third option to promote organizational change is through negotiations. Representatives from leadership, management, and employee groups can be gathered to discuss the vision, clarify expectations, and identify acceptable rewards for accomplishing a task or tasks. The final option identified by Cotter and Schlesinger is to have the leader or manager make an enforced decision from the top. This might be useful when consensus is not possible. This may be very efficient, but it could also backfire if not communicated or implemented carefully. So this approach to organizational change may need to be the last resort. If you'll indulge me for a few minutes, let me provide a personal example. When I took over as dean, my college was relatively new. It experienced a lot of turnover in leadership. There were really no systems in place, and enrollment was flat and even declining in certain areas. One of the problems I noticed was that there were no standards in place for how we would operate. I shared this concern with our department chairs, and we developed a list of the standards that we thought would be helpful for us to function more effectively and efficiently. We prioritized the standards and then created various committees to draft pertinent documents. We then shared those with the faculty and staff and sought their input. Once the standards were finalized, we educated our personnel on expectations. I believe this helped us to improve how we operated, and I think others agreed. The success we had in this area was due to active participation of our faculty and staff. About halfway through my tenure, all of the health programs were transferred into my college. I wanted to make sure these new departments felt welcome, so I spent considerable time visiting the units. During my conversations with the faculty and staff, some of the individuals wanted to know if I would fund research through a scholarly activities committee like the prior college. I thought it would be a great idea for two reasons. First, it would solidify a more cohesive organizational culture, and second, I believe it would also increase research and publications. I'm glad I was listening and open to new ideas. Finally, we had an opportunity to make many other changes, and we took advantage of them. We renovated a hangar for aviation, the dental hygiene and nursing labs, and a crime scene house. We created a new lab for the emergency services program. We purchased new aircraft and new fire engines. We started several new programs including respiratory therapy, national security, homeland security, and a physician assistant program. We also increased the cohort in the nursing program. This was a lot of work, of course. It was overwhelming at times, and we had some hiccups along the way. But it resulted in dramatic increases in enrollment. In fact, our college went from having the lowest percentage of growth to the highest in a few years. The pains of change were definitely worth it. As organizations implement change, there are some important recommendations to keep in mind. Denhart and his colleagues have asserted that leaders and managers should consider possible emotional, psychological, and political resistance, clarify current problems and the benefits of proposed changes, and listen and involve others in the process of organizational change. It should also be pointed out that change does not happen by chance. Leaders and managers will need to implement innovative ways to ensure it happens. Six Sigma is a method by which organizations may promote, achieve, and sustain success. It includes skills such as defining, measuring, analyzing, improving, and controlling. Using a collaborative team effort is most likely to result in the successful application of Six Sigma. A final comment is worth reiterating. Organizational change can be very difficult. Whether incremental or fundamental, change can require a lot of attention and effort. It can make people uncomfortable and require more work, and for this reason, some people in the organization may oppose it. As Denhart and his colleagues remind us, change is a major determinant of the future success of an organization, so, in many cases, change should be embraced and promoted. To conclude, let me reiterate that organizations must change and adapt for a wide variety of reasons. Change may be witnessed in a number of ways, and leaders and managers should promote change when needed and consider ways to ensure change management is successful. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks so much for your time, and best regards.